Hello, I'm Alex Gupta with UATV. Today I'm speaking with Val Redchenko. He is the co-founder of Rybalska Sotnia. It is an NGO which helps to rehabilitate Ukrainian war veterans. Hello, Mr. Redchenko. Welcome to UATV.
Hello.
Can you explain to us what your NGO does to help war veterans?
Well, it's a simple idea. So we target people which are recovering from their injuries in hospitals, and we invite them to come fishing with us. And it may not sound like a big deal, but it's actually a very effective therapeutic technique. So we've been doing that since 2014, more or less.
How is fishing helpful, rehabilitative, versus maybe other forms of activities?
Well, it's not a hard science, but there is some research which has been done decades ago which has linked fishing to be beneficial for evening out blood pressure and human pulse, and have a soothing effect on the nervous system. So we obviously don't take scientific measurements as to what the exact results are, but for us the measure of success is when sometimes the hospitals call us up and they say things like, "We don't know what you guys did, but finally these people are asleep." And for a lot of them, the the PSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder, and many other things which they're suffering from, fishing seems to help. But that's just the first stage in what we do, because once we've actually got the people out onto a fishing event, that's a platform for us to see what other activities and services we can provide on top of them. Sometimes we've invited professional psychologists to render their services to these people. Sometimes we've cooperated with another non-profit which focuses on family values, and we've run family events with their wives and kids and stuff to sort of re-establish the dialogue that these people have inside of their families. Another time we have actually invited a world-standing champion in spin fishing to share some of his pro tips and tricks. So he's done a lecture and a seminar, and I think the opportunities are reasonably endless, because there's a lot of programs and activities available to veterans that are coming back from the war zone. It's just a matter of discovering them and organizing them, scheduling them in.
So do you have a camp along a river or a lake, or do you have a series of camps around Ukraine where this takes place?
That is our ambition eventually. To date, we've been mostly doing one-day events, mostly within the bounds of cities such as Kiev and Dnipropetrovsk formerly. But this year we're doing something totally different, which is we're setting up a camp on one of the islands in the North Sea, the Kiev Sea, the water reservoir just above us. So that camp will function throughout the entire season, weather permitting, probably as late as middle of October. And we're thinking about inviting people to do a full sort of 5 to 7 day rotation there, to really give them more of a chance to escape the confines of their hospital beds and spend a little bit more time in a picturesque landscape, take their mind off things.
When you deal with, when you take the veterans fishing and they're in the hospital, how long has it been usually since they've been out of the conflict zone and they're in the hospital?
It really differs, but most of them still have recent experiences of the war zone. In fact, we work closely with the doctors themselves, and it is the doctors that tell us whether the people are fit to leave the hospital or not. And usually they would have been in active service in the past month or two. So.
What are some of the challenges a lot of these veterans face? Obviously, the post-traumatic stress disorder coming from the war zone. What are some other challenges they face? Financial, family challenges?
I mean, it's not empty words when people say that war changes people. So obviously they come back to their civilian lives changed in many ways. And I'd rather not talk about these things, since I'm not a trained expert on it. But you can certainly hear people mumble through their sleep sometimes, certain things which make you stop and think about what they've been through. Financial challenges come into it because of the economic situation in Ukraine in general, and military personnel don't have it easy. And I think there is a big challenge in reinventing themselves once they come to a civilian life. Some people just sort of return and start doing something straight away, whereas others sort of come back to a civilian life and perhaps they can't figure out their place in society immediately, having come back from this experience. They may have lost skills, they may have lost some of their career opportunities, they've taken time out. So these are all the sort of challenges which the veterans face when they come back.
You said that you bring in sometimes psychologists and family therapists. When does that take place? Does that take place after they've been fishing or during the encampment?
During the encampment itself, so a typical event, people would arrive, we would do a head count, we would set up locations for them to fish, hand out the equipment, give them a bit of guidance whilst that is going on. Someone is preparing a barbecue for them or a little picnic, and all the additional activities come in at that point. So, you know, we might just say, you know, here are some guys that you can talk to if you wish to, or we might have it in a more organized, structured way, saying that at a certain time a certain activity takes place. So it's all kind of one big informal event which takes place.
Are there a lot of NGOs that are helping war veterans? Oh
yeah, there is a fair amount, but I think we're the only one which actually does the fishing thing. We're quite unique in that.
What have been some of the challenges, you know, going to just running an NGO, starting up an NGO like this? What are some of the challenges and obstacles?
A chronicle lack of time, because everything else, I don't think there are any insurmountable odds in running an NGO. I think funding is the trickiest thing, and we've been fairly complacent looking for funds. But I think if you got the funding going, everything else is just a matter of organization and effective management.
NGOs in general in Ukraine, where does a lot of funding come from?
There was a spike of enthusiasm come sort of 2014, 2015. Obviously there was a lot of volunteering inside the Ukrainian society, but that enthusiasm is now gone. So we can't really rely on just donations from Ukrainian people. We can only theorize why that is. Maybe people just got tired of being in a crisis all the time. So there's also avenues to explore with international grants, and we're a little bit late on that this season, but we'll probably do some of that for next season. That's it really, just donations from generous people.
Is there anything you'd like the government maybe to help more on? Is there anything they could help?
They probably could, but I think the whole idea of an NGO is to establish a dialogue with the government from the other side, from the side of the society. So one of the challenges for an NGO is to lobby the interests of society with the government. So in as much it's less of a support that we expect from the government, it's more of an open dialogue for changes in legislation which would hope for them to pass.
How many employees do you have working at the NGO?
It's all kind of part-time voluntary basis, so we don't actually have any formal employees.
But how many people do you have usually working, taking their time out of their busy life to help?
On a recurring basis, approximately, we have a team of 5-6 people that are there all the time, but we also have a pool of volunteers on sort of ad hoc basis that we can rely upon when the events are running. And we're always looking for more, so if it's something that perhaps this audience is interested in, certainly get in touch.
How many hospitals do you work with in the Kyiv area?
Primarily 3. There's one in Pushovoditsa, there is another one which is a little out of the city towards Zhytomyr, and there is a third one, but I don't recall the name right now.
What are some of the more, I know you discussed some of your future plans, but where would you like to take this NGO in the future, especially if you can access good funding?
I think it'd be nice to have a network of camps and locations throughout Ukraine, strategically located so that logistics taking people from a hospital to the location would be, efficient. So preferably within a 60-kilometer radius of coverage from a hospital, which actually has a steady throughput of specifically veterans, but also. I think we can extend this event format to beyond just the the military personnel. We could also target other vulnerable social groups. Perhaps we could talk to orphanages, or there is a lot of people that have been dislocated within Ukraine. So perhaps we could run something for their children. I think this format has a lot of potential to reconfigure it and offer something similar but a little bit different to a different target audience.
Well, I was going to say, do you think this could work, this type of therapy fishing, with even patients with other health issues, cancer patients, psychological?
It's certainly something to be explored. As I said, it's not a hard science. There's simply not been enough observation done. But I think there is definitely a chance that this could be a supplementary therapeutic measure. It probably won't be enough to just do that alone, but as a supplementary measure, I think there is loads of potential behind that.
What do you think it is about fishing that is so therapeutic, that is healing?
Well, in no small part, it's the adoption rate. So it's a very popular pastime activity in Ukraine specifically. It probably rivals football, and football is massive in my country. And I think it's just the genuine calm and relax and being outdoors next to a lake or river, just, you know, sort of taking an individual out of the urban rhythm and into a serene and relaxing environment. I think that helps a lot.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Redchenko. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice being here. Cheers.
And hopefully we'll be able to come out and do a report on your camp.
Yeah. So you're welcome to perhaps say mid-August, beginning of September. That would be a fun time for us. So you should come visit us.
All right. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
I'm Alex Gupta, and I was speaking with Val Redchenko. He is the co-founder of Rybalska Sotnia. It is an NGO which helps to rehabilitate Ukrainian war veterans. You've been watching UATV.